Hi folks, welcome back to the View podcast, joined by Max from Leeds Lately and Ollie Ward from the Ollie Ward Channel. We'll check in with the guys in a sec, but today, with it being an international break and not a huge amount else going on, we're going to tap into the Max Wöber interview from Sky Sports, and we're going to talk about redemption arcs, something we all thought we'd be celebrating last season with Patrick Bamford, our junior Firpo, popping up with the big goal at the right moment to send Leeds back to the Premier Division and complete a 180 of a redemption arc, which didn't happen, unfortunately, last season. But there's a couple of players in this season's squad that seem primed and ready to go on a run and become somewhat of a redemption arc figure. We're going to talk about Willie Gnonto, Junior Firpo, Brendan Aaronson, and Max Wöber himself, and see where do we feel that they are during their redemption arc journey, I suppose. But we'll check in with the guys first. Max, how are you doing, and how's your week been, mate?
All right, thank you. Yeah, it's a bit weird with no football. I mean, it's only been a few days since we had a game, but it's kind of like this open expanse of nothingness until football comes back, and it's like just international breaks are a bit annoying, aren't they? And I'm excited because I really enjoyed what we did against Hull City and the way that we played and seeing the new signings. And so it's like, okay, I want this. I want more of this. Well, now I've got to wait. So I'm excited about the rest of the season, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm the same. You don't want to end. There's teams that want international breaks and there's teams that don't want international breaks. Leeds, Ollie have historically been a team that don't want international breaks with our bad run with them last season. But how have you been and how's your week been, mate?
Yeah, not bad. Sprained wrist. Wasn't a good one. Playing football. It doesn't matter. I won't get into that story. But yeah, no, not bad. Similar with Max. The football's only been gone a few days. Just want it back already. And it was just the worst time for Leeds to end it, wasn't it? Because we just looked so good as content creators. You know, we're struggling for content, so the football needs to hurry up. So, but yeah, no, I'm all good, mate. I'm all good.
It's only a couple more days. I know we say it's 14 days of no football, but it's only a couple of more days. And then from like Tuesday, Wednesday on next week, then we're talking about press conferences and the weekend's game, and we're back against Burnley. So we'll talk about that in a bit more detail next week, because that will be a massive game coming back after international break to go straight into Burnley. And a month that starts with Burnley, has Sunderland, and finishes with Sheffield United, I think, at the start of October. So it's a tough month coming up for Leeds that will start to sort out how this division looks a little bit, I think. But
and we'll still be unbeaten.
Go ahead.
We'll still be unbeaten at the end of it.
Great. We should be. That should be the goal. Really should be the goal for Leeds to go unbeaten as long as we can this year. We should. We'll talk about comments about the squad, because Wöber has made some comments about the squad. About he thinks that it's the best balanced squad in the division, and Leeds have got a really good chance to get back promoted to the Premier Division. He's surrounded by these players, so you would imagine so. But we want to talk about the players that have been here for a couple of years, as well as the ones that have just returned. And on the back of signing a new 4-year deal, Max, Willie Gnonto goes on strike last year. Wants to force a move away from the club, doesn't get it, plays but is a bit sulky for the first half of last season, seems to sort himself out a little bit, has a very good second half of the season for Leeds, especially in that little run that we went on. He was very, very good. He has started this season in excellent form, signs a 4-year contract, and has talked about Leeds being a family, Max, and sometimes we fall out with each other, but then we get back together. The redemption arc story is in itself of we've had a falling out, we've moved past it. Is he fully back? Is he redeemed right now in your eyes, or is there still room for Willie Gnonto to travel?
I think there's a couple of things here that come into it. The fact that I think last season was kind of him earning back the respect of the fans a little bit. And obviously, like you said, he was a little bit sulky in the first half of the season, especially when he threw his toys out the pram altogether, refused to play, and tried to get his move. Everyone was like, you just can't do that. And I don't know, did he get a new agent after that?
He did.
Yeah, so he got a new agent. He seemed like he had his head screwed on a little bit better after that. And to be honest, I think he must have had a little bit of a humbling from somebody to say, look, you aren't actually better than this level because you've not proved yourself. You scored a couple of goals in the Premier League under chaos ball, where sometimes it just pops up to you and you score. So there's not really much that you can take from it. So there's a bit of like an ego thing with some of these players thinking that they are better than the level when they haven't actually proved that yet. And I think that was what it came down to with him. So I think for the rest of last season, he spent that time kind of regaining the trust back of the fans a little bit. He didn't have the best season in the world, he didn't have the worst season in the world, but he was good, I would say. But what the end of the season does is give you a massive reset. And having new transfers come in and a pre-season where he looks like he's playing really well, people definitely, that is like completely wiping the slate clean for me, is that time there where you see him come in and you go, do you know what? His mate's gone, Somerville, looks like he's going to go out and take his position. And it's like, well, yeah, he's the natural successor to that role. Let's see what he can do. And I think the moment the last season ended, for me at least, I don't know if obviously I can't speak for everybody, but that was kind of like, okay, the slate's wiped clean now. He is a Leeds player. He wants to be here. Go out and do as well as he can. And to be honest, I think he's been promised that if we go up, then obviously he's got a place in a Premier League team, which is what he wanted. If we don't go up, then he'll get a move if he's been starting all season, like Somerville. So I think he's basically, it's a win-win situation for the player.
It should be. I mean, again, just based off what you've said, if you follow that trajectory through, he should be in a prime position to have a very strong standout season, be one of the main players, not be another one that's playing behind his best mate, Ollie, but being the main player in that position. He's got a real opportunity to grab hold of his shirt and say, this is mine, I'm staying in this position all season and no one is taking out of me. But where do you sit with Willie Gnonto and his redemption arc?
Yeah, I think similar with Max, but I think you bang on where I think when you look at the back end of last season, when you put together the Archie Gray, Somerville, Georgie and Gnonto, you would have put Gnonto first out. You would have put Gnonto straight to Everton. I didn't expect, as soon as that playoff final whistle went, I thought, right, Gnonto's definitely gone. The others, obviously, you think maybe Archie and maybe Georgie might still be here. Somerville probably deserved his move. But I was saying, why... Like throughout the whole transfer window, I was thinking, why doesn't he want this opportunity? Why doesn't he want the star boy treatment? Why doesn't he want the Somerville factor that we had last year? Every time Somerville got on the ball, the fans were off their chairs and like, wow, he's doing something. And Gnonto's got that ability. And yes, he needed a bit of a humbling with, you can't just chuck your toys out the pram and get a move and things like that. You got to earn it. And like Max said, he didn't set the world alight last year. He wasn't bad at any point, really. I think Dan James actually had just a very, very good season and kind of kept Gnonto out of it. But this is his time. Like you said, this is what we're talking about. This is his redemption arc. This is his time to be like, I'm Gnonto. I'm the main guy here at Leeds United. When there's tough games, 0-0s, 1-1s, I'm going to go get your next goal. I'm going to go create something. And he's got the ability there. He just needs to, I don't know if it's believing in himself a bit more, because he's a fantastic player. And I think, like you said, it is a win-win. If we go up, he's a very good Premier League player. And if we don't, I mean, let's fingers crossed we that never happens. But yeah, he'll get his move. Fingers crossed. He gets his move. And I just think it's always been a thing that when he was linked away with Everton again and all these things, I was like, why do you want that? You're a young player. You can be a great player in this Leeds United side. So the redemption arc starts this season. I think he's had a good, strong start to the season. And I like the way he's not just sitting in a position. He's going out to the left. He's going out to the right. He's sitting in the 10. And he can do it because he's demanding the ball. He wants the ball. And I think, that contract is definitely going to, I don't know, sort of spice him up a bit. And we're going to see the redemption arc of Willie Gnonto.
He needs to do, for me at this level, what Gyökeres did at Coventry, what O'Hare has done, what Hamer has done, what Somerville has done, what Rutter has done, and come into this league and smash it and show everyone I'm levels above this level. I'm miles above. And I think last season for me, Willie Gnonto looked like a very good championship player, but he didn't look to me like a very good Premier League level player.
Good,
so if I was
exceptional.
You look at who came in from it was Everton, and you're like, why does he want that move? And I was like, well, that's the only one that's on the table for him. And if he wants to play Premier League, he's going to have to play for a team that's struggling, because he's not going to get the bigger move, because he hasn't shown that he can smash this level and then go into the Premier League and do it there. And he has to, for me, that's the big thing this year. And that doesn't mean necessarily loads and loads of goals or assists. That means good performances in every single game back to back, where you can say Willie's involved in every movie that we make. Maybe he doesn't get the assist, but he's involved in the build up, but he's an important part of that. And he has an awful lot to offer, huge amount to offer. And that for me this year, he has to go and do that. If he does that, he'll be fine. You'll have Premier League clubs banging this door down to get him. Hopefully we'll be in the Premier League at that stage and it won't be an issue. But it puts him very much back in the window as a Premier League player. And for me right now, he's not a Premier League player. He's a Championship player who still has a little bit to prove. But I think he started this season exactly how he needed to start it. I think he started it in the fashion that we all want to see. Controlling games, getting involved, as you've already said, controlling the game, getting involved in it as well, not being willing to sit on the edges of the game when it's not coming to him, go get involved, go look for the ball, be aggressive. Offside an awful lot against Sheffield Wednesday, but when I watched it back the day after, when I'd calmed and all the normal emotions are gone, he's trying to get in behind an awful lot, which he didn't do last year. We didn't try and break lines last season. He's looking for those little runs, gets his timing right on them, he's going to score goals.
I think he was offside three times in the first half, which is a lot. And a lot of the time it was those corner situations, wasn't it, where everybody else moves out and he just kind of stands back there. And if he can just learn to hold his run, I mean, he's obviously a very young player. He's not somebody who's particularly trained as a striker to make those last man runs. So just with a little bit of coaching, a little bit of extra nudges in the right direction in terms of holding his run and being able to make those runs, because he makes runs into good areas, but he just doesn't quite hold his run sometimes and doesn't quite watch the line. But with that, he'd be in so many times and we know he can finish. So yeah, with just that extra little bit of patience before he makes those runs, he'll get a few goals this season.
Yeah, just explosive 5 yards needs to work on. You know, he doesn't have to be massively quick, as you say, for those corners. When everyone jumps out, be able to jump out and jump back in at the right time. Get that timing right, and he's going to score because he's in the right places. I mean, he showed twice, 2 chances he could have scored from the header, and then the one where he was on the ground. And then later on, the first half, there's a ball played into him on the wing, and he's looking to come in, and he's just a little bit offside. And if he gets that right, he has the entire run to the goal free because he's pacey and he's good with the ball at his feet. So yeah, he's on the path. I think we all agree. He's very much on his way. Still work to do, or are we done?
There's still work to do.
There's still work to do in terms of proving how good of a player he is, but in terms of forgiveness from the fans for what he did, I think that's gone now. But we just would like to see him do better. So, like, in terms of actual playing, I want to see more from him. But I'm not holding anything against him because of the past anymore.
Yeah, I agree.
Cool. We'll move on then to the more defensive players, and a player that's been at Leeds quite a while. In fact, he's in the final year of his contract and is probably playing the best football that he's ever played for Leeds United, and that's Junior Firpo. He has gone from being probably one of the, fans' opinion-wise, one of the worst defenders in the Premier Division to being probably on paper, probably the best left-back in the division right now in the Championship after a hell of a second half of a season. And since the turn of the calendar year, I think Junior Firpo has been phenomenal for Leeds, both defensively and offensively as well. I think he's done both jobs quite well. This season, Ollie, he's now stepped into what you would describe as more of a leadership role. He seems to be more of a leader character amongst the players that are on the pitch as well. But he's the final year of his contract and we're starting to see the best football out of him. And we know chances are come the end of the season, Junior moves on. But where does he fit in his redemption? Because for me last season, I wanted to see him pop up against Southampton with the winner. That's the one that I wanted to see. Firpo back post, tap in. Go nuts, pal. Go nuts.
Yeah,
where is he with you?
Yeah, it would have been the fairy tale ending for Firpo. If you talk redemption arcs, I think he's up there, isn't he? He's up there, especially in the Leeds United shirt. He is, like you said, it was as soon as 2024 started, he was like, I'm actually good at football and I'm going to show it now. So he now I watch him and I think he's first name on the team sheet for me. One of them, anyway. You know, you have your Ampadu's and things like that, but he's up there because he's getting it right. He's getting it right. We always knew that the attacking wise of Firpo was never necessarily a problem. He didn't always have chance to show how good he was attacking. Under Farker, we've seen how good he can be, but defensively, especially this season already, he's switched on. He's not diving in. I think, you know, I don't know if you guys are betting guys, but each time you saw Firpo a few years ago, you'd think first yellow card, put it on Firpo because he didn't
100%.
know what he was doing. He didn't know when players were running at him. He was chucking out a foot and he didn't know what he's doing. He didn't look comfortable. And now he's got both of his games just on lock and it looks good. And you mentioned about the leadership and things like that. I get exactly what you mean. He's not necessarily got the armband, but it doesn't mean he's not talking. Doesn't mean he's not first one doing the rounds at the end of the games. And he just looks happy. And even his social media posts is showing that he's happy to be at Leeds. And he said something like, another good win at Ellen Road, many more to come. And it's just things like that, the confidence that you see in a player. And we're seeing shades of a player Bielsa, I guess, saw. And I'm very happy with Junior Firpo. And like you said, annoyingly, final year of his contract. If we go up, is there discussions there? Hope so. But obviously, we've seen with players, the Premier League is a big jump up. And I think what Firpo needed was maybe some championship football, some consistency without injuries, without, Mo Salah running at you every week. He maybe needed a bit of a step down. So, yeah, I'm very proud of, as a fan, I'm very proud of how Junior Firpo has turned himself around in a Leeds shirt.
I think that's a really nice way to say it as well. A bit of pride in the player. He's got a lot of stick for a long time. I think being able to say that you're proud of the player, I think is a big step, and nice to hear that, Ollie. Max, first name of the team sheet for you, or one of the first?
No, I can't stand him. Sorry, I'm just trying to balance it out a little bit. But yeah, at the moment, he is one of the first names on the team sheet. He's like Ollie says, he's fully kind of come back around now to the other side of things, and at the moment, and for the past 6 months, maybe longer, he has been one of the first names on the team sheet because he's been consistently good going forward and back. And I think it's kind of an interesting point that comes up when you talk about somebody like Junior Firpo. I think he's very much a system player, and that doesn't mean he's necessarily only good for one system, but there are certain systems that will bring out the best in him and certain that will bring out the worst in him. Whereas, let's say you pick somebody like Stuart Dallas in his pomp. I think you could play him in once Bielsa had kind of revolutionized him, you could play him in quite a few different positions and systems, and he'd always adapt and give you a 7 out of 10. Whereas Junior Firpo, he'll either give you an 8 or a 9 out of 10 in a system that suits him, or a 2 or a 3 out of 10 in a system that doesn't suit him. And I think that Real Betis team that he was in, where he got picked up by Barcelona, where they all thought this guy's really good, that system really suited him. But I think he was playing as a left wing back in a 5 at the back or a 3 at the back, however you want to talk about it. Failed at Barcelona because he didn't suit the system. Came into Leeds. I think whilst Bielsa had identified him as somebody who was really good at going forward, because of Bielsa's man marking system, Firpo just didn't look like he knew what he was doing defensively. And then the next thing you know, you've got Jesse Marsch coming in, who again is not a defensive coach, doesn't really know how to structurally organize the defense. And so Firpo's left out of position constantly, and that's why he's getting, like Ollie said, all those yellow cards, because he's just always out of position. He's always having to make lunging challenges. What I think has happened, and I'm coming around to what Ollie said again, is that this championship run and under Daniel Farke has allowed him that time to have a consistent manager in a consistent system where it's not massively a challenge against the wingers that are against him. It's a good challenge, but it's not, like Ollie says, Mohamed Salah running at you every week, Raheem Sterling, whoever else who's really good wingers in the Premier League. You're not getting torn apart every week, so you've got that license to go forward. So I think it's almost been like the perfect storm for him to come back in and have this redemption arc and be a very good championship player. Now, with 1 year left on his contract, yes, he probably goes, but I think it would be a good thing if he went at the end of the season. That's my hot take. I know I did my hot take video earlier and didn't really put one in. Mine was a bit Firpo, however good he's been, I think it'll be a good thing if he goes at the end of this season, because if he goes at the end of this season, everybody will remember him fondly and will think Junior Firpo was great when we went down to the championship and he helped us get back, and we'll be forever grateful. Just like an Alioski. Obviously, he did come up with us, but you would say, oh, Alioski was great, whatever, even though...
Jones, maybe.
Yeah.
Help get us up, but wasn't there for the after party.
Yeah, exactly. So, but I think if we went back up to the Premier League, Firpo would start to really struggle again against some of the wingers. And I think we'd all start to go, oh, Firpo, week in, week out. So I think what's happened is Schmidt has been signed almost to come in for Firpo as that transition happens. But I also think that if we get promoted, we might just buy another left back again and have Schmidt as the bench option where it would have been Firpo. It's a bit of tinfoil hattery there, but I think whilst Firpo's had this whole redemption arc, wouldn't be sad, particularly if he left at the end of the season, because I think he'd leave us with good memories then.
I think the way I've looked at it with Firpo is the next contract he will get will be essentially one of his last contracts that he'll get at the age. Because he's in his prime years now, so his next 3-4 year deal will send him into his 30s. And it looks like that next deal will be Betis. He'll go back to his boyhood club of Betis. They wanted him for a while. We know from Roca and from Llorente that they've got no money, so a free transfer is perfect for them at the end of the season. But there is and I agree with both of you, there's a level of riding off into the sunset here that Junior Firpo gets, you know, that he doesn't get necessarily in the Premier League if we do go back there. But there is a bit of me that thinks he does deserve another crack at it under a proper manager who doesn't play nuts football and, you know, has a defensive side to the game as well as just an attacking side to the game. But then again, Max, you're right. What happens if he then starts to get exposed again and we start to see the different side of it? He ends up leaving at the end of a 1-year extension probably, and he's gone now. Where now it's like he gets a standing ovation. Thank you very much for everything you've done for the club. We wish you all the best in your future endeavours, and we will remember you as a player that helped to get us back to the Premier League again. So I think he's got that opportunity, but he's been so good. Like, he really has been so good. And what I really enjoyed against Sheffield Wednesday game was the link up between himself, Aaronson and Solomon. And the first 10 minutes, the three of them were just tip tap, overlap, underlap. Like, this is brilliant. I could watch this all day. Those three are gonna destroy somebody on their own if they get it once they get used to it a bit more. Because right now it looks really impressive on the left hand side. So, and when Gnonto was there as well, the link up play was excellent as well. So there's such positive things on that side of the pitch. I do agree. I think Schmidt's probably a long term replacement. They brought him in for the year to adapt to the division and the league and the UK, and then next year he settles in and maybe he is the right guy and maybe he's not. Maybe he's a squad depth that you'll need when you get there anyway. But it's an interesting one. But I think for me, Firpo's past redemption arcs at this stage. I think he's very much back as being one of the main players in this Leeds United side, and I'm delighted for him that he's stuck around long enough and took the stick and stuck around and stuck at it and made his name last season. Has been started this season exactly the same way. And to credit JT, Senior Firpo has been brilliant for Leeds, and he is correct on that. He's wrong on Bamford, but he's right on Firpo. But that's a different conversation for a different day. We're not doing Bamford today. We could have, but we're not going to. We'll get onto the two that are the most, I suppose, divisive and controversial ones because they're current, and that's Brendan Aaronson and Max Firpo. We'll start with Brendan Aaronson. Max does a lot of this when he scores goals, especially when the two that he got in Germany when he scored, and this usually signifies I'm staying here. So obviously off he comes back to Leeds United and doesn't stay there and comes back into the Leeds team and has done things the right way, has put his head down, got stuck in, made his decision early, said he was sticking around, and has started the season really, really well. He's been involved in 4 goals already, contribution wise, all up, goals and assists. He looked really good against Sheffield Wednesday, could have scored against them as well. And again, just as doing all the right things. He's bigger than he was. He's not falling over as easy. He's involved in the games. Where do you sit with Brendan Aaronson right now?
The thing about Brendan Aaronson is I don't think that he would have even particularly needed a redemption arc if he didn't leave. Like, in the Premier League, we all said, yeah, he goes down too easily, but I still think a lot of us liked him. We liked what he was trying to do. We liked he scored a couple of goals and he gave us that moment against Chelsea. Yeah, I got his name on the back of my shirt. I'll never do that again because of potentially what can happen now. But yeah, I don't think he'd have needed one because I think people were willing to give him a chance. It was only his first season. He's come into the Jesse Marsh system where no one really could thrive under that atmosphere apart from Rodrigo. And I think everybody at the end of that season was going, oh, Brendan Aaronson's going to be really good in the Championship. If we can keep hold of him, he'll do really well. The only thing that made Leeds fans get really annoyed at him was then going out on loan to Union Berlin. And I think it rubs people up the wrong way because there's a certain attitude from players, right? And I've got this thing where players come from the Belgian league, the Austrian league, European leagues that aren't top 5 leagues, but still have teams that play in the Champions League. Is this niche of players that I'm talking about where they make a move to a lower Premier League club or something like that. And then they think that they're Champions League level footballers. And I think they have this ego thing in their head because they've played for Salzburg or Genk or somebody like that. Yeah. They have this ego in their head that they think they are fully fledged Champions League players, but there's a massive difference between going out fourth in your group. I know it's not groups anymore, but at the time it was going out fourth or third in your group to playing for a Man City or a Real Madrid. And I think they have that ego to go, oh, I can't play in the Championship. I'm going to have to go to a team that's qualified for the Champions League for the first time in 30 years or whatever. And then I think they do get humbled a little bit. We've obviously seen people like Rasmus Christensen and people like that go to Roma, and then you see all the fans on Twitter and you like translate, oh, that's not going well for him. So I think Brendan Aaronson, that's what made people get annoyed at him. And when he came back in again in the summer, I think everyone was pretty quick to go, okay, let's see what you can do. Like, I'm looking forward to seeing what you can do in the Championship. If you stay in, and we'll support you. I think everyone's been quite supportive of Brendan Aaronson. With regards to what you said, he does seem to have bulked out a little bit. But what I think is he's still getting pushed off the ball quite easily at times. But the difference is, he always worked hard, but the difference is he sprints then, barges back into them, he hooks a leg around them, he does anything to get the ball back, to go, do you know what, I've lost it, I'm going to win it back. And you can see the determination. And I know it's a bit of a cliche for football fans of any club to say, but Leeds fans love that. If you work hard and you go and try and win the ball back, football fans in general, they'll love you for it. Even if you lose the ball more times than somebody else and you go and try and win it back more, the people will love the guy who loses the ball more because you can see him working hard. But yeah, and I think technically he's got all the ability to have a great Championship season. So for me, he's already redeemed. I just want to see what he can do in the Championship, and I think that's going to be really good.
I'm excited to see what he'll do. But Ollie, where do you sit with Brendan Aaronson? I personally think double-digit goals and assists is a good season for him this year. I don't think he gets the amount of assists as Georgie, but if he can equal the G&A that we got with Georgie last season, that's a good year for him, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. And I think he started off brilliantly, and why can't he get there? I pretty much reiterate all the points that Max made. I don't think there was actually anything necessarily technically wrong with Brendan Aaronson in the Premier League. And I think it's bang on about like the shouts about, oh, he's played Champions League football. He thinks he's a Champions League sort of player. And I understand that you see that with a lot of players, and they think a step down to the Championship is this horrible thing that no player can ever do. And it's I don't know why, because Championship nowadays is one of the toughest leagues in the world. It's getting better and better, and
top 7.
Yeah, easily. And it's with Brendan, I'm really excited to see what he could do. And when he decided he was going to come back, I thought, yeah, I think this level is right for you. And similar with how we kind of mentioned about Gnonto, that I don't think Brendan Aaronson's a Premier League player yet, but he's still a young player and he still can. I don't care how much experience you got. If you're not good enough, then you're not good enough. I don't care which games you played in. And I think, again, this sort of step down, I think a lot of players, that's why I find it difficult when these young players want to rush to play Premier League football. Yeah. Go establish yourself and make yourself a brilliant player in the Championship, and then get your move, earn your move. And I think a lot of these players that we've got in this division will show that yes, they may be too good for the Championship, but that step up to the Premier League is huge. And Brendan Aaronson, he found that out kind of the hard way last year. And similar to what Max said, I love he still loses the ball, and he's going to, because he's that type of player, similar with Georgie, but he wants the ball back. And he will create chances. He will score goals. He'll miss opportunities. We've already seen that first game of the season, but he got in the right place. And technically, I think he's good. He looks built more. And I think, we've made some decent signings with Solomon, Ramazani and things. But at the moment, that number 10 is for his to lose at the moment. I think he started the season off brilliantly, and hopefully he can continue that form against better sides. I want to see how he does against Burnley, Sheffield United, Sunderland, etc. And we'll see how he gets on there. But yeah, as of redemption, I'm not one to necessarily hold grudges on players necessarily. I'm seeing tweets saying like, still doesn't feel like he's a Leeds player. I would like to see an apology. And you're like, I don't know necessarily. If he does the stuff on the pitch, I think he'll be forgiven quite quickly.
Yeah, I think he's avoided an apology because I don't think he feels the need for an apology. There was a clause in his contract, and therefore it's actionable as far as he's concerned. Football, for a lot of footballers, is transactional. That clause is there, therefore it can be actioned at some point. Why would anyone hold that against me? It's in my deal. But I think he said the right things since he's come back about being committed and fighting and working. I think that's a big part. But let's talk about holding grudges, Ollie, and let's come straight around and let's talk about Max Wöber, who said this today. I'll just throw up the screen for those watching and for those on the audio. I'll fill you in. I'm at Leeds and it's a perfect fit for me. I never said I absolutely wanted to leave. The word absolutely is a key word in there for me, Ollie, because it suggests that there was possibly a door that was slightly open to leave, but he hasn't gone as far as to demand a transfer. Where do you sit with Max Wöber now that he has finally spoken, says he has to fight for the centre-back position, he knows it's not guaranteed, but believes getting back to the Premier League with Leeds United is exactly where he wants to be? Talk about Max Wöber for me, will you?
Yeah, I just said I don't hold grudges, and Mike kind of just flipped that on his head. But I don't necessarily hold a grudge against the player necessarily. I think he does a lot more talking than he does playing football, and I think he probably thinks he's a better player than he actually is. And the whole, I'm not saying I absolutely wanted to leave. I think that comes with if someone come in with the money. If, Borussia Mönchengladbach could pay the money, you wouldn't be a Leeds United player. I personally think. And when he played his game against Borough, I know the whole team was awful. He looked the worst player out of the 22 on the pitch, including the Borough players. He looked terrible, and I just think he needs to do a similar sort of Aaronson thing where he needs to shut up. He needs to play well. He needs to he needs to let Roden and Pascal do their thing. And like you said, again, he says things like, "There's 3 good centre backs here, and I'll have to see." And it's kind of just like, they've earned the right to say that they're 2 good centre backs. We want to see what you can do. Enough of the talking, really. And of course, there's a chance for redemption arc. Pascal could pick up something, so could Joe. But I need to see more. And everyone was saying he'll be a perfect Championship player if he came down to the Premier League, obviously, or when we got relegated, or even when he decided to stay for this summer. I need to see more. As a fan, I want to stop the talk of how good you are and let's see how good you are. You know what I mean? And yes, you've done all right out in Germany. How many times have you seen players do different in other leagues? And with Max, he's a hard one. I want him to do well because when I thought he first came into Leeds, I remember his first game. I think it was Cardiff in the Cup or something like that. One of his first games. I thought, wow, we've got a leader here.
He played holding midfield, didn't he, in that game?
Yeah,
did. Second.
I thought we've got a leader here. Give him the armband. It was when no player could really do anything right in a Leeds shirt, and I thought, here we go. We've got someone here. Then he jumped ship, and you're like, oh, okay. And then when he's come back, he's done a lot of talking. I thought he was doing a lot of talking during the sort of while he wasn't at Leeds as well. So let's just see what he can do. But of course, there's room for redemption, but he's got to earn it first.
Yeah, everything is earned. That's the big part on this. You earn the praise, but he does talk an awful lot. Max, where do you sit on Max Wöber? And what has he got to do for you to be redeemed in the eyes of fans?
Well, yeah, like Ollie said, he does do a lot of talking. And I liked a bit of what he said. He just needs to shut up. I think he's got the same condition as I talked about with Brendan Aaronson. I know that Mönchengladbach weren't in the Champions League last season, were they? But he still wants to play for a high-level Bundesliga side, or what historically have been, when don't think that's particularly his level. He had been good for us on a couple of occasions in the Premier League. There's definitely a footballer there. There's definitely a player there. But like Ollie said, worst player on the pitch in that game against Middlesbrough. He was awful. What I wonder about Max Wöber is this season, how is he going to redeem himself if he can't get in the team? I think that Pascal Struijk that's his position to lose. He's vice captain. You don't give vice captaincy. Most of the time, you don't give vice captaincy to someone who you're not going to play. So I think that position is Pascal Struijk's until he gets injured, inevitably. So unless Pascal Struijk gets injured with enough of the season left, then Max Wöber doesn't really get into the team to be able to redeem himself. So I'm not sure where his redemption arc comes in. To redeem himself, he needs to be unbelievable. He needs to have a great season for Leeds at left centre-back. But I can't see that happening because Struijk is our left centre-back. So I can't see a redemption arc happening. I think he might leave in January.
Just to throw it back, though, to give you a scenario. Pascal Stroke started last season. Similar fashion to this season, was excellent. Probably one of the best defenders we had at this point last season. Got into September, October, got injured, missed the rest of the year. So there's a possibility with Pascal Stroke. And over the years with Stroke, I won't go as far as say he's injury prone because footballers get injured. But Stroke has had an injury nearly every season that he's missed blocks of the season. If you're Max Verber and that's the position you're looking for, there's a possibility of that. And then if the shaky start that Rodon has had, which I think he's getting better, but if it is to continue, can he play right centre back? Because there was a point in footballing world where it didn't matter if you were left footed or right footed, you could play centre back. But now apparently, unless you can kick it with each foot or either foot, you can't play anymore. But if those opportunities come up for him and do present themselves, what does he need to do for you, Max?
Yeah, it's just about consistency. It's difficult with a centre back because when you're talking about attacking players, you're talking about goals and assists. And on a piece of paper, you can look at it and go, he's scored this many goals, he's assisted this many goals, he's redeemed himself because he's contributed to the success of this team. You can measure defense by clean sheets, but that's not an individual statistic. That's across those 4 players and the goalkeeper. So it just has to be on the eye test. It just has to be, is he putting it all on the line for Leeds? Is he making blocks in the box where he's throwing his body around, blocking things? Is he winning headers from corners defensively? Is he trying to get forward and win headers in the box on attacking situations? But it's just all about the eye test. Can we see him putting in 100%? And no matter how hard he tries, he still has to do well. Because that Middlesbrough game could have been trying all he wanted, but he was awful. His position, and he slipped over, he lost the ball. Didn't look like a player who deserved to be in any starting 11 in the Championship. So, yeah, it's about consistency for me. If he gets this chance, we're imagining this scenario where Strouk does get injured or Rodon is in terrible form and he gets this chance. He just has to have some really, really strong performances in there. And I don't think that that's out of the question, really, because we've seen that he can be a very good footballer and a very good defender. So he's got it in there. He just needs to come out in the Championship. But like I said, if nobody gets injured, the redemption arc doesn't happen. So my prediction basically is, if we don't have a Strouk injury by January and he doesn't get any game time, really, because we won't even have the FA Cup by that time, then I think he might go.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's, sorry to quickly jump in, I think it's also just an arrogance thing as well. Like, we've kind of said Brendan's come back and he hasn't said anything. He's got down, he's done his work, and he could do all these apologies and say all these things. But I just think with Wöber, the fact that I think he thinks he's too good for this level, like we've already spoke about. I think that is the case, and that's hard for anyone to kind of get on board with. If you think you're too good to play for Leeds, then you're not going to get on the fans' side. So, and then when you put that display in against Borough, then I don't know what you expect, really. So I kind of can jump on that sort of ship of, if he doesn't get regular game time, if we don't see him start in, say, come January, I think, yeah, Max could be right. Max could be going.
It could be a humbling thing for him, though, that if that is his case and that is his thinking, look, we don't know. Obviously, we're doing a bit of speculation from context of what he said and the moves that he's tried to make in the transfer window before. But what I think is that he's one of those players where if he doesn't get that game time in the Championship, is he going to realise that he isn't maybe at the level he thought he was? Because if he's not getting game time in the Championship, well, hold on a second. You can't be that good if you can't get in the first team, in the Championship team. So hopefully that humbles him a little bit, and the fact that he has to work for it. I don't think he's one for not working hard or anything. No. I just think it's that he might look at the team ahead of him and go, do you know what? I can't break into that team at the moment. I'm going to have to work hard and maybe be a bit more humble.
And there's manager trust needed there as well. He needs to build that trust back up from the manager as well, because if he is good enough and he is of a high enough level, the manager will see that in training, and there's only so long he'll go before he goes, he kind of needs to be in the team. And if you look at what he did at Gladbach in a very poor season for Gladbach, he was their standout player. He was regularly talked about as being the best player that they had, and they weren't as good when he wasn't in the team. So he does have caliber to him. It's just about getting it out of him, and that might take some time. He said it himself. He doesn't expect this transition to be easy. He knows he's going to have to work hard, That's all the right kind of language. He hasn't said a huge amount. We've talked about, shutting up and getting on with it. He hasn't said anything till now about coming back, but he did do a lot of talking last year about who he was and where he was and what he wanted. So we'll have to wait and see. But let me know in the comments down below what you think on the 4 players: Gnonto, Firpo, Aaronson, and Wöber. Where are they in their redemption arcs for you? I'll be back tomorrow morning for some more Leeds news. Max, anything happening over on Leeds lately this week?
Well, there's the hot takes video, of which you two both appear in, that came out today. So I'm guessing this is going out tomorrow. So yesterday's video, basically, and I'll be trying to upload every day. Hopefully, some sort of news happens in the world of Leeds United, because at the moment it's like, come on, we want football again.
Yeah, we do. It'll go out today, but I would highly recommend go and check out that. There's some controversial hot takes that need to be addressed. So go check that out, Max channel. It is linked below. Ollie, what's happening over with you this week?
I'm kind of just doing kind of debate style, talking about individual players. Joe, you'll be on the channel when this, probably a couple of hours before this video comes out. We're talking Elan Meslier. Is he overhated, underrated, overrated? Find out on my channel.
They're all linked down below. You can check them out if you want to, and the lads channel there. Show some support and give them a sub as well, folks. That'll do for today. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and I'll be back tomorrow morning for the final news video of the week. And I'm trying to do some sort of a live stream tomorrow night. I'll see if Mr. Dalton's floating around and see if we can have a chat about some Ireland versus England stuff, which I've deliberately stayed away from, because let's be honest about it, the best Irish players play for England right now, as does the manager. So we leave it at that. The only way Ireland are ever going to win a World Cup, go play for England and get an Irish manager in charge as well. That's the only way to do it. So we'll see. But until then, enjoy the rest of your day. I'll talk to you soon.